President Biden in town in Pueblo today, your district, touting his Bidenomics program. He claims it's working for American families. Do you believe Bidenomics is working for American families?
I don't believe that Bidenomics is working for American families. We hear about this each and every day with families who are struggling. Joe Biden came to Pueblo, Colorado today, and his speech was another hard to watch, filled with stumbles and deceit speech, like he often gives. Every Republican in Congress voted against the Inflation Expansion Act for a reason. It's nothing but the Green New Deal extremist policies, and it's not serious bipartisan policy. And his infrastructure bill that I voted against only authorized 7% of the funds to go to real infrastructure. Now, in the last Congress, when the with the infrastructure bill came up, I authored legislation that was 100% for actual infrastructure, not 7%, deceiving Americans while we're paying for all of these other bloated, inflated pet projects throughout Democrat congressional districts. Bidenomics is not benefiting hard working class families in Pueblo or across the 3rd district or the nation for that matter. On Joe Biden's watch, credit card debt, inflation, groceries, and gas prices have all reached record highs. These high prices are squeezing working class Coloradans and rural America.
You mentioned the speech. I didn't know if you'd had a chance to hear it today. In fact, I haven't heard it in its entirety myself. Did anything else stick out to you that was especially remarkable that you'd like to respond to?
Well, first of all, a photo op won't change the fact that Bidenomics is bad for our district, and I will continue to lead the fight against these disastrous policies. I did watch most of Joe Biden's painful speech there in Pueblo. It was hard to understand most of it, a lot of slurring, a lot of distractions by the shapes of that we're seeing in his face that change ever so often. But it's really difficult to know that his policies are what is inflicting so much pain on American families right now. And for him to tout subsidies costing the American taxpayers billions and billions of dollars, raising inflation, and then for him to say that he's actually helping the economy. It's very deceitful in nature for him to come to Pueblo and say that he is helping hardworking families when he's actually causing the inflation with his Bidenflation, with his failed Bidenomics. Biden came to reiterate the same fake news talking points. However, this is the truth. Thousands of hardworking men and women in Colorado's oil and gas industry will lose their high-paying jobs. Many already have because of him. Yet he has the audacity to come to Colorado and say that he's creating jobs. Instead of touting the Inflation Expansion Act that mandated Green New Deal policies, which cost taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars, Biden should work with me to get my Pueblo Jobs Act signed into law. Now, back in July, my Pueblo Jobs Act passed the House as part of the National Defense Authorization Act with unanimous bipartisan support. My bill will create 1,000 at least new jobs in Pueblo as the Pueblo Chemical Depot finishes its closure process. The Pueblo Jobs Act closes a loophole that will prohibit the federal government from cutting corners by requiring the Secretary of Army to rigorously follow the standard base realignment process when closing the remaining portions of the Pueblo Chemical Depot. Now, this is a facility that's on 7,000 acres, and now that is protected by my bill, and it represents a multi-billion-dollar piece of infrastructure. This is what Pueblo needs, and I would encourage Joe Biden to work with the House and Senate to get the NDAA passed in a meaningful manner so we can pass the Pueblo Jobs Act and create at least 1,000 jobs there in Pueblo.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask about it. Just to make sure I'm clear, where does the Pueblo Jobs Act stand right now? Where are we with that?
Yes, so the NDAA needs to go through conference where we negotiate with the Senate. We are in divided government, so we have to work on the other side of the aisle in a bicameral way to get these bills to the Oval Office, to that resolute desk, and get it signed into law. So after that, it'll come back to the House. We'll pass that, and I have full confidence that my Pueblo Job Act will remain in the National Defense Authorization Act, because my bill ensures that this important infrastructure will be put to work benefiting Pueblo instead of just being torn down and bulldozed. And now that my bill has passed the House and is in the NDAA, Puebloplex is already studying which industries can move in and use this amazing facility to create high-paying jobs in Pueblo. This is a massive priority with me. I've worked with both senators, the House Armed Services Committee, and local stakeholders on this bill to create jobs and invest in Pueblo's future.
I appreciate that. Maybe one more question here and I'll cut you loose. You've talked about unleashing American energy production. President Biden today talking about more green energy. Is there room for both? Can we do both at the same time?
There's certainly a market for all of the above energy, but let's let the market decide. When the heavy hand of government comes in and chooses winners and losers, that's when we see the devastation that we are currently in right now. That's why inflation paired with reckless spending in Washington, D.C. is out of control and harming these hardworking class citizens that I represent in Colorado's 3rd District. We have been regulated into poverty in my district in many areas because of Biden's poor energy policies. Biden would rather rely on our foreign adversaries for our energy rather than creating good, clean, reliable energy responsibly in America, creating good paying jobs in America. Instead, he has canceled those jobs and sent them overseas. And instead of relying on the American roughneck, we are now begging OPEC to produce more oil. This is not the way we should do energy here in America. We have an abundance of resources here, and we need to be tapping into that and unleashing our full energy potential, and not just be energy secure or energy independent alone, but pursue energy dominance. So we could then assist our allies who are around the world and literally export freedom around the world.
Really strong. I appreciate all your time. Is there anything else you think I should be asking about related to the president's visit today that you want to respond to?
I do think that it's interesting that the president's failing polling numbers, their falling polling numbers, are so significant that my opponent, Adam Frisch, had a scheduling conflict and couldn't even bother to drive down to Pueblo and see his party's leader in action there in our district. It really shows that these are failed policies when a Democrat who is running for office will not even stand by his party's leader and applaud those policies. These are disastrous for Colorado's 3rd District and our nation. Even Democrats see that, but unfortunately, they don't see it enough to change their ways. Any Democrat who gets elected will pursue these same policy agendas, destroying American energy independence, creating higher costs of living, and making it more difficult to afford gas to get to work, to pay your mortgage, or any of the other necessities that families are struggling with so badly right now. It is unfortunate how much of the reckless spending that we see come out of the Democrat Party, and we need to have strong majorities on the Republican side to get this spending under control. Certainly, we have a lot of work to do, but I'm proud to be here to do it.